Now listen to me, Caesar. There can be only one talking chimpanzee on Earth. The child of the two talking apes.
20 years back. From the year, Senor Mando, when the two talking apes arrived on Earth.
And we believe that the male and female talking apes have come to us out of the future.
A month before the talking apes arrived on Earth.
From now on, you have but one assignment: to find that talking ape.
He's a performing ape for my circus.
A talking ape? That idiot!
This chimpanzee...
Get out of retraction immediately. Announce that the talking ape has been apprehended and put to death.
Incredible! The talking apes!
Hey, ape fans, and welcome to this Comic-Con edition of Talking Apes. I've been to the mountain, and I've come back with content. Lots and lots of content. Now, already on our Skywalking Through Neverland Instagram account, I posted a walkthrough of the Enter the Forbidden Zone. This was a Planet of the Apes exhibition held outside of the convention itself, and you see costumes and props from the original series, the Andy Serkis films, up to Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Now, there's still one more video I'm going to post where they teach you how to walk like an ape. Can't wait for you to see that. It's really embarrassing. And then I've also posted from Comic-Con the NECA figures. I know they're re-releases, but they look good. I posted all of the NECA figures that they had on display there, the cosplayers. But now it's time for the big one. This is the big panel. Now, this is called Unveiling the Visual Effects Magic 20th Century Studios Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, and this was held on July the 25th. And to give you a rundown, the press release says, delve into the technical and human elements that created the visual effects masterpiece, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, with some of the best visual effects talent in the business. Join lead cast members Freya Allen, Kevin Durand, Owen Teague, and Peter Macon, alongside visualization supervisor Casey Pyke, Wētā FX visual supervisor Erik Winquist, and one of the film's editors, Dan Zimmerman, as they unveil the visual effects magic behind the majestic beasts and battles and bringing director Wes Ball's vision to life. Oh my goodness, this was a really great panel. Now, I have the full audio recording, but they wouldn't let people video record it. I don't know why, but I snuck a couple of video bits that I sprinkled in this upcoming video. Now, for those listeners with sensitive ears, a fight did break out between the Comic-Con security and a fan about the halfway point, and there were some curse words being thrown out. I don't know what happened, but it seems like neither side was listening to the other side, and it just escalated, and finally the security was able to escort this gentleman out. I'm not sure it was his fault, but I don't know. It just once again seemed like no one was listening to the other. So it's about a 30-second fight. So if you start to hear that and you have sensitive ears, skip right on past it. Now, I got a chance to represent Talking Apes, and I asked a question during the Q&A, and they asked everyone to keep the questions short. However, you know me, I don't keep anything short. I had to ask a question where I wanted answers from everyone regarding Easter eggs. So, without further ado, let's roll into Unveiling the Visual Effects Magic 20th Century Fox Studios Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
How are you? Welcome to Comic-Con 2024. Great to see so many people here. I am Jared Hall, editorial director at Entertainment Weekly, and I gotta say it is a really nice thrill to be back in person this year with so many of you after scaling back a little last year so that our writers and showrunners and actors could go fight for fair wage and better work conditions. Yes. And speaking of, we have some of those actors here today, along with some of the brilliant creative minds who helped bring to life Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. This film film was the first box office hit of summer 2024, and by the way, one of the biggest films so far of this year. Just a cool $171 million domestic, 400 global. No big deal, right? All right, so let's get to the big show. Please join me in welcoming visualization supervisor Casey Pyke. We've got film editor Zimmerman. Visual effects supervisor Erik Winquist. In the film, he plays Wētā is Peter Macon. Yeah, Proxima Caesar actor Durand. She plays May, who later gets the name Noah from Noah and Wētā, Freya Allen. Noah, the guy who plays him, Owen Teague. Hello. Hi everyone. Thanks for being here to give some folks some insight into the making of this film. First, I have a question actually for all of you sitting in here. Who among you, show of hands, this was your first panel of 2024 Comic-Con? All right. So some of you were here early already, got into some things. Who here, it's your first Comic-Con ever? All right, I was going to ask the same up here. All right, we got a few first-timers up here as well. Well, we are going to have some fun here today, so let's get into it. Owen, I would like to start with you. I'm going to guess you probably thought a lot about this and perhaps were asked around the time of the film's release, but I'm curious, with the release behind you, if you have a different perspective now on what it has truly been like to enter the fray of this franchise and this fandom.
I mean, it's been such an honor to get to, hopefully carry this franchise forward for a few more movies. And also, just one of the most deeply wonderful experiences I've ever had making a film because of all these people on stage. We had such a good time making it, and it kind of recalibrated the way that I think about acting as a craft. The things that I learned making this film, and working with performance capture. Yeah, it was amazing.
Freya, as one of the few human characters in this film, I'm curious about working alongside these guys in their performance capture shoots. How did that adjust the way that you approach your work?
I mean, I didn't really have to imagine that there were apes in front of me because they're so ridiculously good at it, and still are. They really can't let go.
You're welcome.
I don't think I'll ever be able to escape it now. It's just my life. But it was amazing how they transformed, and it was incredible getting to see them go through that process as well of learning how to do apes. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Erik, this is not your first rodeo with apes. This guy's an Oscar nominee for Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. What lessons you learned from those previous films that were applied and perhaps even improved upon here?
The main thing with this one is the shooting style, I guess, of the movie for this one. In particular, not these two films in particular, had this very controlled kind of subtle camera language to them. And Wes and Julia, our cinematographer on this one, were very much more about a handheld kind of vibe. So we knew going into this thing, it's going to be more challenging as far as the whole clean play thing for this thing, where we needed to really, like the camera operators and stuff, really needed to kind of memorize those beats of the camera, we had to reproduce that. Because after we would get performance of these guys, we would ask them to step out, and then, in shots where, say, May was there by herself, and pretend to play the same shot over again to nobody. Sometimes dragging herself around the room and having top of having the experience in the previous movies really kind of informed me what parts of the process were important. And coming into it, it allowed me to sort of put together a bit of almost like a video of how we make these movies. And really like, sort of calibrate the entire crew and the cast for what the process was about to be with the
being dragged around sometimes, but also like Danny was totally up the door for this role, right? Like everyone's nice and clean in the mocap suits and you're like completely dirty.
Yeah, it's very good.
But I guess you would have been the only one who, for the most part, in makeup training for a while, right? So.
Yeah, it was so much attention on my feet, honestly. Just really making sure that they looked as rancid as possible. And I think they were kind of staining, obviously, for months after that job. There's still like blood in between the cracks. Really sexy.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Kevin, we heard you kind of slide back into the voice there. Is it something you break out in your everyday life often?
Not very often. I can't seem to find my way back.
It's hard to go back to being a human when you get to be such a fantastic creature. Not dissing all of you all. I mean, we're pretty cool. It was pretty. Actually, Owen and I talked about this a lot. It was very, very easy for us to get into our simian selves, so it's harder to come out. And it's still haunting my life.
Something fine.
Come here, give me some sugar. Bend to your king.
That's not what he's talking about.
If you know my wife, you know I'm the one that's...
They're great for roleplay, it sounds like. And all due love and respect to Austin Butler, like, don't let that become a permanent thing. I
don't know what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's totally fun.
Peter, for you, this character, there's a moment that everyone kind of, gets to grieve a bit as you got into those moments with him. Well, even just in the script, was it like,
Is that when his pants come down?
That's the one.
Yeah, it's pretty sad about that myself.
Yeah. But did you know going in that was what was going to happen, or did you discuss the script?
Yeah, and I couldn't wait to do it. It was so much fun. Like being in it's like a sauna, or like a hot tub that you find at Burning Man. With this massive turbine engined jet, I don't know how many thousands of gallons of water per second. It was a blast. Yeah, no, I mean, and so, if you, for the shrewd credit watcher, because everybody sticks around to the end of the film, but at the very end of the film, you hear, I'm like, hey, what's that? So, who knows?
Yeah, right. I mean, fingers crossed, right? We want to see him come back? Yeah. Like Erik, Casey has a long list of credits as a previous artist on films, including Dawn of Planet of the Apes, the Hunger Games franchise, Star Wars and Star Trek, the Batman. It is a very long list. But Casey, I'm curious, what advancements have been made in special effects techniques and tools that you and your team were able to utilize here?
Let's see, well, I guess on War for the Planet of the Apes, that was the first time we used a program called Unreal Engine, and that made us able to kind of make changes a lot faster in real time. And Wes Ball learned Unreal Engine on his own time and would interact with us occasionally with, he'd say, send me your files. We'd send them over, particularly for the fight up on the cliff at the end of the movie. And we had kind of blocked out a bunch of apes, you know, in that scene. And the next day, we spent like, you know, all night making cameras, animating them just by hand and handing them over. And then we kind of took all that, did some refined our crowd based on his cameras, and kind of built out that scene around these guys doing all their stunt work and fight work and stuff. And that kind of ended up getting handed off to Erik's team as kind of a guy that Wes had decided, like, yeah, that arrangement of the crowd and arrangement of the action with the eagles, you know, all that stuff. Yeah, so that they would be able to kind of carry that into the beautiful work they did, the stuff you actually see on screen.
Dan, you were of course putting so many of these elements all together in edit, and I have to imagine there must be this really cool moment for you of like, oh, like things are like coming to life right now. Like it's all like the pieces of the puzzle are coming together. How do you think, with all of the work that these other guys are doing, as that's coming into you know, these VFX and everything, contribute to the overall storytelling and the emotional impact?
No, I mean, it's crucial, right? I mean, you know, it's a long time coming for us in the editing room because we're only seeing the actors in their suits and the cameras in front of their face. We don't ever really see live, fully rendered shots for the better part of a year after we stop photography. So you really do have to imagine everybody's performance as an ape and just hope that you're telling the best story possible with those performances. But at the same time, it's so labor intensive, one of the most labor intensive things I've ever done in my whole career. But it was a blast because you can literally almost do anything with the footage. So it was great. And with these guys giving you days every day, it was truly an embarrassment. It was awesome.
Obviously, like, trust is so important between actors on any set, but and with the crew and the director, of course. Here for the four of you, I can't imagine how much deeper that trust has to be, because, you know, it's like, is what I'm doing too much, too little? Am I giving you the facial reactions they're going to read well? Can you talk a bit about that, and if there are really specific conversations that all of you are having like that on set?
I think it just really relates to commitment, the commitment to character. It all comes down to the same basic kind of element. We were so lucky. They gave us 5 weeks of rehearsal time. We were in ape school, and we learned the anatomical differences between humans and our particular apes. Myself a bonobo, chimpanzee. So by the time you get to shoot, we've got a good idea of what we're doing, and I think it's just lean in, commit, find the most compelling truths. It's kind of the same thing.
And also trusting, you know, each other to all commit in the same way.
Wow.
And because, I mean, you know,
that's the magic.
What you're doing is sort of inherently insane, you know. Running around on all fours and acting like chimpanzees. It's a bizarre thing to watch people doing. And I remember the first day that Wes came down in the basement where we were doing ape school, he was just kind of like, okay.
Director Wes Ball.
Yeah, like overwhelmed by the sight of like 8 human beings running around like apes. So there's a huge amount of yeah, you're sick of it. There's a huge amount of trust between us, but then also in you know, Erik and Dan and everybody who's working on bringing these characters to life, and Wes, of course, to take what we're doing and our performances and, you know, respect that and basically make that into the final product. So you kind of just are handing over yourself to those guys, and they're so brilliant.
You know you're in good hands. Yeah. I mean, even like down to the details of like Erik, like, you know, when you called all of us and individually had phone calls, and we were like, what were you thinking? And you were doing this. What is wrong with you, Kevin? You're not really a bonobo. And just all of these conversations where he wanted to know what I was thinking in certain moments. So he was really inside of our heads, and I mean, honored the performances, brought us to a place that we're all so proud of.
That was an amazing thing that I've never seen anybody do, is the interview that you gave all of us, Erik, the character interview.
Well, it just paved the way for such an organic way to discover, depth and three-dimensionality in characters, and just working side by side with someone. So you're gonna, because the trust is essential, because you don't get to go and look at playback and video footage to see like if you can even, alter or tweak your performance even a little bit, because you're looking at yourself in a performance capture suit, so that's not really that helpful. So at the end of the day, it's like doing theater, where you just have to trust your scene partner, trust the material, and trust what you're doing, and trust that the Wes is going to get what he wants, and then it will translate once it gets to you guys a year later.
I guess I would say that to that, the interview thing, that was kind of for the benefit of our animators on the show, because I was here with you guys for the whole shoot. They weren't. Right. And while your performance is what's driving all this, ultimately what I wanted to make sure they had was the subtext of it all. Where were you coming from? What was not said? What was maybe even not in the face?
This is the moment that I was constipated. I just want to be clear that you did this, really working on this thing.
But it's the point that we're not looking on the show, we're not looking for actors to be the best chimpanzee impersonation you've ever seen. We're looking for actors who can just portray the truth of that moment. That's on the script. And if so long as that's there, that's the main process. Because the specifics of how you look in the face, that's important. That's why we're there to sort of make sure that translation comes through.
I feel like I had to really trust in you and Wes because of those times I was having to do all my scenes on my own as well as with them. But that was any actor's nightmare, having no one in front of you, just sort of staring at some tree.
I will say Freya Allen is the queen of the clean plate. You are amazing at this.
Thank you so much, Erik. I think I deserve it.
Own that.
Yeah. You didn't Frank all the thing?
No, not once.
We'll create an award for that one. We'll figure that out. Yeah. We are going to be showing you guys some really cool clips throughout this to see various stages of how the film was made. I believe the projectionist is Ben, our wizard behind the curtain. We have the first clip that we can go ahead and start playing as we kind of break down the visualization process a little here. And as we start to take a look at that footage, you'll be able to see it here as well in front of you. Casey, I'll start with you here because the human hunt scene, which is, I just think it's one of the coolest, one of my favorites in the film. It does have various stages of it, starting with like the humans being frightened by the apes, all the way up to the climax with rockets. So I'm curious, what was the process for creating these stages, both in pre and post-viz, and how did you manage the transition between like the varying environments?
Cool, yeah, so in the clip you're going to see a scene where there's all of these kind of feral humans in the water, in the river, and some marauder apes come in and try to capture them. And so what we do here is like this kind of rough animation stuff, where we do motion capture and stuff on our own before you guys go out to film it. And so for this scene, it was a lot of capture motions that Wes, the director, has described to us of somebody running and getting tangled up in a net, a lot of run cycles and that kind of stuff. But it's taking an environment, it was a real environment that they had scanned, kind of building it out, kind of a little pretty like that, and figuring out how the zebras and how the people are going to move through this river environment with speed and they run through the water. And then the stunt team worked out these kinds of stunts that we pre-vised, and then when they shot it for real, and as you can see. And then on the post-viz side, after they'd filmed, we were responsible for putting in apes on horses in the background, the zebras, to kind of get a sense from the director how many zebras, how long do the zebras remain on screen, and when do the zebras leave? Because Wes was like, we gotta get these zebras out of here really fast. So yeah, you can see here the previs that we did before the shoot.
Very cool stuff, yeah. Erik, in this case, you're of course working with these natural environments that we see. You've got the woodsy setting and that river. How did then on your side, your team ensure that these settings had a very realistic and look and were integrated organically?
That was, like this franchise, at least certainly since the Caesar trilogy, has kind of set up an expectation of a really high level of reality, and that needs to carry through to the environments. And anything we were doing to augment needed to match everything we were seeing around them. So the great thing was we had all this photography from Australia. There was always something there as a basis. Every time we were outside, we were actually outside. So our augmentations to that world to really add in the overgrown human architecture and that kind of stuff always had a grounding in reality. We could always look at and see what our lighting cues were, how much wind was in the trees, all that kind of stuff to really help tie it in and form what it needs to be.
Dan, there's obviously a lot of coordination going on between the different locations and these stages of the previs and visual effects. But in terms of your job on post-production, what were your biggest priorities in making all of these things sync cohesively?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest priority always is to tell the best story, right? And that's what the main focus is. But we very, very quickly realized in making a movie like this that your options potentially can be endless at some points. And you can build performances, you can build shots based on method, because you can. And working in features most of my life, where it's you're evaluating on a per take basis, per performance basis, to now all of a sudden kind of disregard that to us in a sense, and hey, you can build your own thing, even if you want to take 4 words from one performance of one take and 3 words from another take. I can put those 2 together and make one awesome take. Not that I ever did it,
but it's an option.
But it's an option. But it's like you're constantly varying, and then when you're doing it on a per character basis, the timeline can get stacked pretty high. So it was a lot of coordination. There was a lot of basically like timeline management, which basically then translated to both Casey and then ultimately to Wētā to finish it. But and that's where our 3 departments really did have to have a very sort of harmonious blend, where there was no gaps in between our work, because it would have fallen apart very quickly.
By the way, we are going to be taking questions from you guys in about 25 minutes or so. So be thinking about those if you've got them. We are going to go on to the next clip. Ben, you got that one for us? In this one, this is really diving into Kevin's performance here. It's so pivotal, this speech. I'm curious, obviously this is production. Obviously this is during production, but when you got to see the final cut, like knowing what was in front of you when you shot, but seeing that final cut, what was that like for you? Yeah.
I was busy watching myself. Actually, I was there. I was like, man, that's a scary looking dude. Is that me? Put my bonobo face back on, please. Yeah, it was. I was an ADR, and Wes played it for me. And I stood there, and I was thinking all the dreams of the little boy that was living in northern Ontario in Canada, who had watched the 1968 movie and terrified, and mom explained to me that they were actually actors, and that's when it really hit me. It was like, wow, I could do that for a job. I think there was the scene. So to stand there and have that full circle moment and see Proximus in the dining hall and jumping down that stage, I'm not gonna lie, I had a couple of tears running down my face going, wow, what is happening? This is the coolest thing ever. It was, yeah, just incredibly proud to just get to be a part of it. Bringing what I can to the table.
Get the fuck off! All good. Why the fuck are you fucking touching me? Your goddamn fucking hands off me! Out of respect for these fucking people, their goddamn heart. Just get your fucking hands off me! I have human rights here! I have fucking human rights! Get your fucking manhandled like a fucking gorilla? Fuck you! Fuck you! Step back! Step back! Step back!
And by the way, those kinds of speeches, like to be one of those actors, there's a a list of people who had that opportunity to like give one of those big speeches. That's gotta be pretty freaking cool.
Oh, it was so epic. Yeah, it was so epic. It was really like a dream. The whole thing. And for me, from the beginning, it was always like being able to disappear into my character somehow, and to have like the most talented folks in the world help me truly disappear was quite illuminating.
Yeah. It's also pretty impressive too, because when he was giving that speech, you're seeing hundreds of little digital apes that weren't there. I mean, he was basically, there was like 10 people in sweatsuits, like looking up at him, and he was talking to the masses like this, and so to actually deliver that kind of a polarizing speech with nobody in front of you, that's pretty commanding.
But Dan, I understand you and Wes Ball also made some adjustments when you were first editing the scene. Is that right? Can you elaborate on how the scene was kind of mapped out with previs and then the impact that his performance had on the edit?
Yeah, actually, I mean, it was one of those things where originally, the speech wasn't really going to be that sort of encapsulating. It was kind of, we were going to be more with sort of Owen's character and his sort of, disbandedness from seeing May with, up in the thing. And so we were more sort of centrally focused on that story and, less about what was kind of going on. And then Kevin happened, and, it completely took on a different role. And it was one of those things where we wanted to kind of keep him in silhouette at the beginning, and then when he landed on top, that was like the big reveal. So normally when you bring your character out, you would shoot him coming down the thing and from the front, and powerful, bonobo coming at you. And we were like, no, let's hold on to it. Let's hold on to the voice has to be.
What a wonderful day! What a wonderful day! Repeat after me! What a wonderful day! What a wonderful day!
Thank you very much. You were waiting for that one. Living it, soak it in. Kevin happened. Is that a quote you hear often?
Oh God.
This is a question for Dan, Casey, Erik, if all three of you want to jump in. The collaboration here between filming and post-viz and Wētā's final visual effects team. What was that workflow like to create a cohesive scene like this?
I mean, it started with the raw plates. I put it together in my mind. I just kind of was like, okay, there's one there, and then I would look at a plate, and it was just a rocks, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Casey, what can we do with this plate? And he would say, oh, we can do like the horse leaves, like digging in. I'm like, all right, awesome. So there was actually, the beginning was a lot of back and forth with Casey, even before showing Wes anything. I would send Casey cuts just to kind of evaluate the plates that were shot. because again, nothing was there, so nobody was really acting in it other than the main performances of Kevin and Owen, and so we kind of just had this back and forth, and once we got to a place where it was like, okay, now let you go and let you kind of fill it in, and then with conversations with Erik, we were like, okay, Erik, how many apes can we have? And they said, well, let's just figure it out, because, you know, every ape costs money, so.
What's the going rate?
Ape labor is pretty high these days.
There was a moment where when you handed the first cut over before we had our meeting, I was watching it, and I was like, okay, 10 people in sweatsuits. They're obviously not in the movie. These must be apes. And so then like getting into it, it was really trying to establish like, is the ape crowd list? Does it just like go over the rise, or is it just like a little group of 20 apes that are listening to him? And so it's this kind of push and pull of here's 700 apes, here's 800 apes, here's 300 apes, and Wes would kind of react to it and react to like the shape of the crowd, like how close they are to like the dais and that kind of thing. And then once they start like pulling open the door, like you know when does the fire start and the cut, and like how much do we need to actually put in there? Are they chains? Are they ropes that are attached to this door? And so yeah, and then we also did a motion capture suit where I got to put all the dots on me, and I just, for all those apes that you see up there, it's me and one other guy doing all this like calling and cheering and stuff. And we would put that scene together and get it in front of Wes, and he'd give us obviously notes and everything to refine it. But of course, all of that is replaced by Erik's team and the actors.
Yeah, I was going to say to that point, once we had the shape of the scene, what we knew what that was, we could start looking through what pieces did we capture in Sydney, sort of at the end of our shoot or during the shoot, what pieces did we need to get, and that's where our guys would suit up in our mocap stage and just do it for real, figure out and fill in, capture these little groups. Oh, we need more groups of guys pulling on the chains, and then the chain snaps and they fall over, so we capture that stuff. All the little vignettes that you see around were done sort of at the Wētā mocap stage somewhere along the way as we sort of realized that we needed a piece. I was going to say, in terms of finding what that was, we also had a splinter unit, right? Just shooting just all sorts of random stuff. Like, oh, here's a plate that could be used for something. Here's something else. And so that's where you're talking about, like, it's a plate with rocks. Great. What's this? What could these, trying to figure out what actions could take place, in this thing. And it's a really interesting way to make it. Yeah, it was great to see collaboration.
We have one more clip here. This one is so cool. This one has audio, so we will watch and listen to that one all the way through, and then we will dig back into questions. By the way, if you have questions, feel free to go ahead and start lining up. We'll get to those in about 15 minutes or so.
Stay low, guys.
Before I even get into questions, I again just got to applaud the level of acting that is required here, and the like freedom that you guys have to allow yourselves, it's really impressive. So congrats on that. Owen, you guys talked a bit about the school, you know, figuring out motion and movement and all of that, but that aspect of it aside, I have to imagine there was also though just a complete like physical training regimen that you went through at some point?
I did a little bit back in New York before I went to Australia, just on my own, because I know, you know, you'd be moving a lot, there'd be a lot of thigh activity. So, what's your question? Easter eggs. We're not really like. I mean,
tell them how big your thighs are.
Oh, I outgrew all my pants. I'm not kidding. I had to go up a size. Yeah, no, I put on like 30 pounds. A thigh. All thigh.
Glute meat.
But no, I mean, some of the actors were really like fit and really in good shape. I was not one of those actors. But it kind of happened naturally over time. Like you didn't really have a choice. It just like you could see that in that clip. We did that scene. We shot that scene for 3 days, and each take was probably 7 minutes, 5 minutes. I don't know what the But
and just as intense every single
every time it felt like electricity, like everybody feeding each other this electric. We would get to the end of every take, and Owen and I would look at each other, we'd both be shaking, eyes tearing and going, good for you.
Let's do it again. Let's keep going. So it was like that, like every day for 6 months, and really quite intense.
I'm sure. Well, for those of you who were in the performance capture suits, but also you're carrying your body in such a different way, like did they have a massage therapist there for you, a chiropractor? Like I gotta imagine at some point you might feel certain aches or pains from holding your body differently.
It's actually easier for me to stand that way. I imagine I'm in the minority, but I don't know about you guys. But
very natural for me too. I mean, it was, I spent my entire youth playing ice hockey, so I was always in a crouch. So, now I was just in a bonobo crouch. And I was still terrorizing people just like I did on the ice. So, I just didn't sound Canadian, eh? I had to sound a little different, right?
When I'm in a hurry, I find myself faster. There's an efficiency to the movement. Having longer arms and legs, or longer arms but shorter legs, but it just makes a lot of sense. I think that human beings should walk like that.
It kind of like
just imagine your son's faces when you do that.
We do it together. We get down. Come on, let's go. Come on,
But like adds momentum.
It does. And it helps sustain momentum. Like when it's transferring my weight. Again, like if I'm in a hurry, like I just find myself naturally sort of leaning on that. Like it's just a better way to. It's more efficient use of body weight transference. So it's nice to learn that. I'm not sure how people respond to that.
His audition since, he's auditioning for an attorney, and he's just so tell me about September the 26th.
On the day of question.
That'll get their attention for sure. I want to stick with you three for a second, because you've touched on this a little bit with the trust, but especially Peter, with you, I mean, this leader has such a deep desire for hope and unity, something we're hearing a lot about right now in the world. But I have to imagine, you of course didn't want those technical aspects to overwhelm what your emotions and those aspects of the performance. Did any of you, beyond that trust that you talked about in this conversation, did you have anything that kind of like helped center you and not think about the technical stuff going on so that you could focus on character, or just relying on each other?
I feel like it was such a very specific and difficult ask into talking orangutan. Okay. But I feel like through camp and actually getting to know these guys as apes more than human beings, I think that it just, I don't know, it just helped. I lost my train of thought, but like, what was
that? Knowing them, or as apes.
Answer is strawberry ice cream.
Yes.
But isolating, kind of shutting out the technical aspects.
Yeah, because you have to, at the end of the day, as I said, trust your scene partner and just be in it. And I think that once we immersed ourselves in where like it was almost in our molecules and our DNA, to not think about it. And so once you get to that point, and then the articulating of, you know, Rock is fairly chatty. So what is that? You know, what is that? How is his language and speech patterns different than a myopic, maybe Noah, or like or bombastic Proximus, and being specific and about the.
What'd you call me?
Bombastic. You agree?
Yeah, no, that's pretty good.
Yeah, just being able to just not think about it at all and just connect with these, you know, these. And so when I saw the movie the first time, I was like astounded, and I was looking at like, oh, there's Freya. Well, Freya, but like, but there's Kevin, there's you know Travis, I didn't see them as apes. I saw them, but it was just so clear, like the character, like and then when you watch myself, I'm like, oh, that is me. It's just like me.
And let's be honest, I mean, it's not like we were going to set and people didn't want us to act like apes. Like, everybody was like, oh, let's see the ape. And so, you know, when you're an actor and you love attention, yeah, imagine that mysterious, isn't it? But it's like, everybody on set granted you license to be this character. The first time I went to set, Owen was finishing the scene with Freya and they yelled cut, and it wasn't Owen that saw me, it was Noah. And I still hadn't aped in front of anyone other than Alain Gauthier, our movement guy. And Owen kept coming closer and closer to me, and Kevin was going, oh shoot, he's gonna want me to ape in front of all like, crazy. But he kept coming up closer to me and he was putting his hand out. And then all of a sudden I was like, Owen gave me license. And then from that point on, I'm never going to give him the license back. I the license.
And Proximus hasn't left him since.
No. And so it was a beautiful thing because everybody was just buying in. So we just got to all.
We all gave each other license. But the other thing was, like you said, Peter, we got to know each other as apes first, really. And we developed such strong bonds with each other in ape school and on set that like so much of, at least personally, Noah's drive is his family. And to me, those people like Suna and Anaya, Lydia and Travis who played them, and Dar, my mom, Sass, they are those characters. So it was very easy to connect with the story.
It's so fun because when we hang out as both. Which is really cool, and the more beer we have, I could just imagine the tables are always very loud.
Fun times for sure. All right, we have a line of folks who have questions. Let's see how many of those we can get through in the next 15 minutes or so. Up first, have at it.
Thank you for this great movie, mostly for the production team. We've watched the clips, we've seen some things that are absolutely real on set. Other things are there, and we know they're going to get tweaked with you know, computers and things. And then other things that you can completely create whole cloth. What's the kind of give and take when you're deciding what's going to be what?
It's always going to come down to, can we find a place that's suitable? And if we can find a place, is it going to be within our budget to shoot there? I mean, they were looking at like old factories and old, like there were plenty of places we might have been able to shoot parts of the interior of the silo, for example, when it floods, but they would have been hours away, which would have just completely made it impractical. And so there are reasons like that. When Rocca and Noah are walking through the overgrown airport structure, the interior of that after he first meets Rocca, that was coming down to just purely a budgetary issue of, well, if we're going to build a set, it's going to cost this much. If we did it digitally, it might be that much. And it just wasn't going to be worth the dollars and cents to build an actual set for that one scene that's only takes, you know, we only have one conversation and they're gone. So it's always looking at the practicality of that. For really, you know, is there a place we could shoot? Great, then let's shoot there if we can afford to.
All right, next question.
Well, hi. Given how labor-intensive the editing is, do you see automation making that task any easier?
Good question. I figured these would come up, considering it's such a big thing right now. But, you know, look, at the end of the day, you can teach a computer a lot, you know, but when I truly believe when it comes to human emotion, real performances, I personally think they have to be judged by humans. So there's maybe some automation in how things potentially can get put together as like a starting point or whatever, but that would just take the fun away from me.
I guess I would say to that, I mean, like for example, on this film, we're using a deep learning solver for the facial animation of the apes, but that was largely kind of a necessity for our process in that we had so much dialogue in this film to have to bring to screen, and we had so many amazing performances that we wanted to really harness. Running it through as a first pass using deep learning to get what was kind of the tones of that facial performance on screen allowed our facial animators to spend their time working on the emotional nuance and looking at what I see on Peter's face versus what I see on Rocca's face. Did they give me the same emotional response? And if not, why not? Well, let's fix it. You know? And that it gave them the time to really focus on that instead of having to do the nuts and bolts of the performance first. It allowed us to kind of, you know, keep a smaller facial team and still get through this great amount of work.
All right, next.
Okay. Also for the production side of the table, I have a son who's in high school right now. What advice would you have for someone who wants to go into VFX or 3D modeling as a career?
The answer might be a little different now than it was a couple of years ago. I guess the main thing is the thing I always find is that we can always teach people what the tools are and how to use the tools, but the bigger thing is just teaching somebody how to observe the world and see what makes something look like it does. And I mean, I guess it really depends on the sort of area of the discipline that that they may be interested in. But the big question these days is with things like generative AI and those kind of tools. Are there going to be aspects of the role that essentially become partly automated in ways that they may not have just even a few years ago? So it's a tricky question right now.
Yeah, but I think that especially when it comes to like previs, watch movies and look at how they're made, how they're cut. Like, why is a scene emotional, so that you can kind of, and with enough examples of that just kind of living in your head, when you're building an emotional scene, you'll kind of have that language, that filmmaker language kind of just living inside you. And so there's a lot of different ways to do it. And you know, in VFX, you're working with a lot of other people in a collaborative space. And so I would say there's like technical tools, like 3D animation programs and stuff. But really, it's just like watch a lot of movies, try to figure out why they are the way they are and how to love them.
And be passionate about it, right? I mean, ultimately, we're all up here and have done it for however long we all have because we love it. We truly, truly love it, you know? So if your son is passionate about what he's doing, just keep lighting that passion fire and just don't let anyone ever try to extinguish it.
By the way, to Casey's point, watch movies, but also watch things like the behind the scenes of this film when you can check it out on like the 4K Blu-ray. It's great stuff and lots of resources on other DVDs and such as well. All right, next question.
Yeah, hi. I just wanted to say, as an Apes fan since I was 9 years old, thank you so much for taking the reins and continuing to tell a new version of the story. I was very disappointed. I saw it 3 times in theaters. It would have felt more, but health issues and stuff. But
part of that 400 million. They thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. And I was wondering, when do you think we might hear about a potential sequel?
I hope soon.
We would too.
We'd all very much like to go back.
Yeah, we're all hoping. Fingers, toes crossed. I guess cross yours too. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Thank you, man.
Hey, I am Richard Woloski from Talking Apes podcast, and thank you. Kingdom had so many original series Easter eggs. I love Easter eggs. So I'd like to know from each of you, what were your favorite Easter eggs in Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes? And let's start with Nova.
I would say, for me, the music, the fact that it had some of the music from that original film, and I noticed it instantly. I was like, something in there sounds not of this time. And I thought that was amazing. I'm always obsessed with the music in these kinds of films, and so the fact that they'd woven that in there for me was really exciting.
Yeah.
Nice. Next.
I was gonna say that as well. But,
Me too.
That little piano theme.
Oh, so good.
Bridge. It's amazing. I always get a kick out of seeing the scarecrows outside of Proximus's kingdom, you know, to scare away the humans, and like maybe that's how they came to be, and you know, down the road in the '68 film. So that's always fun.
I don't know.
Just say the music, man.
I think it's just Easter egg, but I love the nod towards the old school type of tension building on the bridge, and just like the minimalism of the score, but the piercing like. It just kind of took me back to watching old school '80s or '70s horror flicks, like just that tension, the way that they built that tension with the sparseness of the sound.
I guess for me, when you all get your 4K Blu-rays, maybe pause on the mural and stop and look around.
Gentlemen, in the end?
For me, it was the absolute joy of going back into the archives of the 1968 dubbed version and pulling a sound effect that they used for a doll.
Oh, yes!
You guys remember when he picks up that doll and it goes, that is 100% from the original dubbed version.
I think my favorite part was in War for the Planet of the Apes, there was a Nova character, and when we were working on it, I didn't really know what that kind of name twist was going to be, and so when you were like, we call them Nova, that was just so great because Nova's the main character, in the original, and there was always this thing on War where I was like, oh, so are the astronauts going to land in like 5 years or something? And that kind of kept it going into the future, so the first movie could be 1,000 years, 1,000,000 years from now, and that line, I just cracked up. I do not know why.
And Proximus is going to go with the music again.
I think for me, actually, it's coming back to seeing a very conversational, articulate ape. You know, it kind of brings us back to the OG, like, you know, you're starting to see that circle starting to get closer to potentially connecting. That's kind of cool.
Nice. And you were going to say music. All right, thank you, everybody. Sorry.
Hello. I studied commercial production at Florida State University, where Wes went, and everyone there who's met him speaks with him with such reverence. And I just wanted to ask, like, what's it like working with a director who has such a VFX background versus like directors who don't have that same background?
Well, I've been saying this was like a unicorn project. I've not had an experience like this show ever in my career, in the sense of working with Wes with the experience that he has, his enthusiasm, but also with the entire team that he assembled around him, and his whole cast. It's like this was a dream. So bring on the next one, please.
Yeah, whenever we would get a preview pitch, Wes would come in and go like, all right, Casey, this is what I'm thinking. And then he would just start snapping like roll on the ground. And so it's just so fun to work with people who are like that enthusiastic. But also like when he's doing that, I'm like, I know exactly what you're talking about.
He's a very clear communicator. He knows exactly what he wants, and that's just like such an important thing to have in a director and film, visionary like that, or like that. So, you know, kudos.
Yeah, I don't think he really gives himself enough credit with how good he is with actors, because I've never met a director who knows what the character is going through so clearly, and is able to articulate it so clearly, and he's going through it with you, like scenes where Noah's having some crazy trauma, like Wes was living it with me, felt like, you know, in his own kind of reserved way, but he was right there and understood every beat. It was extraordinary.
Coming from that special effects background, like he is truly a profound storyteller as well. Like when he sits and tells you a story about anything, there is nowhere else. Even if you have bad ADHD, you're not looking anywhere but Wes, because it's so compelling and expressive. Yeah, we're all in awe.
Could you all move in? Because we're going to start seating people in here
guys,
right
thank
now.
you all so much for your questions.
Any empty seats? If somebody's coming over you, or
Freya
just
have the
move
last
over.
word here. A question to you quickly, because it was asked, will we get more? If we do get more, where would you like to see your character go? Get to explore.
I mean, I'm just really excited to see her now confronting where she's come from and the people she's been with her whole life, and having gone on such a insane journey and discovering so much and having everything she's ever known challenged. I'm very intrigued to see how that then works when she has to, you know, talk to her people about it, you know. So they're this slightly different perspective she has. So
yeah, we'll talk about that, I think, may happen. Yeah, for sure. Well, a couple of quick housekeeping items for you guys. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is available now on digital platforms. It will also be streaming exclusively on Hulu and Hulu on Disney Plus starting August 2nd. And then we mentioned that 4K Blu-ray. That is going to have not just like that side-by-side clip. That wasn't just a clip for here. The entire movie will be available on that 4K Blu-ray. On August 27th. Of course, be sure you check out the Planet of the Apes, more Planet of the Apes magic at the Planet of the Apes fan experience across the street here from the Convention Center. That's in the Wine and Culinary Institute, and it's open every day during Comic-Con hours. Please join me in thanking all these folks for being here.
Well, that does it for this special Comic-Con episode of Talking Apes. We're going to be back very soon with a very special episode. Kevin will be back. Patrick will be back. We may have some more guests coming back as well. I want to thank everyone for listening to Talking Apes, supporting Talking Apes, watching the videos on YouTube that we do for the podcast. I really appreciate when you watch the videos, I put a lot of work into adding clips. And I want to thank Rob Dellinger for composing our Talking Apes theme. To catch more of Rob Dellinger's work, go to his website, alpharhythmkings.com, to see where he's going to be performing next. And if you want to yell out, Talking Apes, at this point, he should be able to play it, because I ask him all the time. Now, we are part of the Skywalking Network, Skynet, where you can find other great shows like the Max FX Podcast, the Neverland Clubhouse, Totally Tell Me Everything, Star Warsologies, and the YouTube shows Collectopolis and Today in Star Wars History, as well as the flagship show, Skywalking Through Neverland. So until next time, this is Richard. Now, go ape. Just don't go ape like that guy at the panel. Hey, look at those names to the left. They are part of the Skywalking Force, our Patreon.
Become a producer yourself and check out all the Disney Plus themed bonus content available depending on the level you subscribe.
Become a member of the elite Skywalking Force at skywalkingforce.com.